All right, folks, good evening. In the interest of time, we're going to kick things off. So I'm going to call the Town of Harwich Select Board meeting for Monday, December 15th to order. And the board is going to enter into executive session, not to resume earlier than 6:30 PM for regular session. So I'll entertain a motion for executive.
Second?
Oh,
I'll make a
second.
motion, okay.
Read it
Yeah,
away.
you gotta read
Chair, I
that
move
first.
that we go into executive session for A, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the HEA Harwich Employees Association and litigation with the HEA DLR case number MUP 24-10-888. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Joint meeting with the Brooks Library Board of Trustees. B, pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. SEIU 888, Service Employees International Union, Harwich Management Employees Association, and HEA, Harwich Employees Association, MCOP, Massachusetts Coalition of Police Patrol, and C, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 30A, 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Assessors Map 82, Parcel R5.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Mr. Handler?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Chair is aye, 4-0. Tony, did you say we're going downstairs?
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
library
we have
needs
to
to
open
open.
Call it here.
Yep. I call this meeting of the Brooks Free Library Board of Trustees to order and move to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law C-30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the HEA Harwich Employees Association and litigation with the HEA DLR case number MUP-24-10888. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. And not to return to open session after adjournment. All in favor, roll call vote.
Joan, yes. Richard Hardy, yes. Julie, yes. Joanne Brown, yes.
Bernadette Waystek, yes.
All right, excellent. And as a reminder, folks, the Select Board meeting will resume no earlier than 6:30 PM. Thank you. Good. All right, folks, I'm going to call the Select Board meeting for Monday, December 15, 2025, back to order. We just came out of executive session. 2 items to report. The board came to agreement and signed the agreement with the SEIU 888. And additionally, although previously approved, there was signing of the Mass Coalition of Police, also known as patrol contract. So 2 agreements reached tonight that we are happy to report, and looking forward to continued working with those individuals. With that said, we will rise if you can and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for that, folks. Staff comments and announcements. Just you, Link.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Link Cooper, DPW Director. I rise for 2 reasons. One, to commend my staff for what I thought was a job well done with some very challenging circumstances. And I have to say, although there's only 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground, this thing was a very long duration, unanticipated, what happened last night about 6 o'clock. The staff started a little before midnight Saturday, Saturday night about 11:30 at night. Worked all day Sunday, went home about 2 o'clock. Thought everything was under control. And then, as we all know, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, it really ramped up, temperatures came down, and it was ugly. And it was actually whiteout conditions for a little bit. They worked all night and worked today. So, you know, basically 2 days without sleep with just a 4-hour break in there. I commend each and every one of them for a job well done and their dedication. The second reason is that despite putting message board out, we had 13 contractors show up, 13 plows, and one broke down, so we only had 12 contractors. If I can go back to 2020, that number was 35. I want to put this in context. We are not alone. I'm mentioning it on camera in hopes that somebody out there might have a plow on their truck and want to have a job the next time that it snows. We could really use some help. So that falls on internal staff. And by the way, thank you for voting the truck driver position for the $35 an hour. Both retirees showed up and helped for the duration. And we just signed another retiree on today. So that is helping, but we really could use some private contractors. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Link, and thank you to your crew and your staff. Appreciate it.
Hi, Amy Goodwin, Harwich Channel Director. I have a couple of quick things. Comcast and their subcontractor just finished the fiber upgrade installation between the community center and the school, so that brings us one step closer to you all being broadcast in high definition.
Scary thought.
So we still have a couple of steps to take. We needed an engineer that we hire to come in and hook up the rest of the equipment, and then we have to then have another sit down with Comcast and flick a switch. So we're still plugging along on that project. I also want to let people know that for this calendar year, from today to this time last year, the Harwich Channel has uploaded 363 videos of boards and committees, and also our favorite part of this job is doing community events. So if you missed anything in the past couple of months, like the Blue Bridge dedication, we were there, we got all the footage. Veterans Day, we covered that. The tree lighting ceremony that was in Harwich Port. The town band holiday concert, in addition to all of the town band performances this summer, we covered. And Duncan Berry reminded me, since he was here tonight, that we started a oral history project through the Historical Society, and Duncan's been so great to gather people and do short 30 to 45-minute interviews, and that can all be seen on our YouTube channel. We don't get to broadcast a lot of the town band and some of the other community events because obviously regulatory boards take up most of our programming. So if you think you've missed something around town, please make sure you go to our YouTube station. I would love if you subscribed, and then you wouldn't miss any video in town. We also have a volunteer named Dinah Lane who interviews community members and events. And tomorrow she actually has Mr. John Carey coming in to talk about his projects. So that will be really interesting in case you missed anything that he's got going on. So thank you.
Any other staff members? Seeing none, weekly briefing.
Just real briefly on the Phase 3 sewer extension project. There won't be any construction taking place on either Christmas Day or the day after Christmas. And then for New Year's week, they're just taking New Year's Day off, so they'll be working the rest of that week, including that Friday. So again, the majority of work continues on Pleasant Bay Road, as well as in Route 39, part of the project. There isn't anything new on the Great Sand Lakes, but I'm close to being able to put in the packet at least a milestone schedule. As you know, we have to award the contract before June 30th, so we're building out a milestone chart of all the various milestones we need to complete that would lead us to a awarding of a contract prior to the end of June. So nothing new on the Brooks Academy Museum project. I think that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Public comment and announcement. Excellent. Consent agenda.
Sure, Mr. Chair, I move we accept a gift in the amount of $5,000 from Mr. Jan Kalicki for programs that benefit children and the homeless in the town of Harwich. Would you like me to continue to read them, or take it one at a time?
Any objection? Feel free.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move we vote to approve a bench at Senior Memorial Field in honor of Van Cachadorian. I move that we approve the resignation of Peter Gorey on the local planning committee effective immediately. And D, I move that we approve the select board meeting minutes from December 8th, 2025.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Public hearing, I'll entertain the reading of the public hearing notice.
Give me a minute, I'll get it, I'm sorry. Then he gets it before me.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
Harwich Select Board notice of public hearing, Department of Public Works fee increases. The Harwich Select Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 15th, 2025, no earlier than 6:15 during their regularly scheduled meeting. This hearing will be held in the Don B. Griffin Room located at Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, for the purpose of reviewing the proposal to restructure Department of Public Works transfer station fees. All members of the public having an interest in this topic are cordially invited to attend the public hearing and provide information and testimony relevant to these proposals. Harwich Select Board, November 27th, 2025.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Mr. Scabby, you want to start, or you want Link to kick it off?
Yeah, just real briefly, Link came before us 2 weeks ago to make a presentation regarding a transfer station, restructuring of our fees, which haven't been done in quite some time. So I know the board's heard his presentation. He's going to quickly go over it again and answer any additional questions. And we hope to get a vote of approval on that if we are warranted. So, Link?
Thank you, sir. 2 weeks ago, I was here requesting your consideration in increasing the residential permit, we don't say sticker anymore because we got rid of the sticker some time ago, to access the transfer station from $160 to $200. I believe the spreadsheet in there said that the actual cost of that was $216, yet I was recommending a $40 increment. The last time we raised those fees for the residential permit was 2015, or 10 years ago. So what you'd be voting on tonight wouldn't take effect until July 1st. Well, they start selling usually the second week in June, but for next fiscal year. It has been 10 years, and during that period of 10 years, the town's disposal cost has gone from $60 a ton to $113, or roughly 85% increase, along with transportation, and we do all our own hauling and everything else. Everything else has increased. So I think it is long overdue for some increase, and I think in the future, we should maybe look at the contractual language we have for disposal and do small incremental increases along the way, rather than waiting for the time where we need a larger one like this. The only other item I requested was the tire fees from $3 to $10. All the other items that we have a price chart for are in line with our cost of disposal or or our neighboring towns. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Excellent. Anybody in attendance or online, excuse me, that would like to opine on the transfer station fee? I don't see anybody.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to close the hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Open up for discussion amongst the board. Any questions for Mr. Hooper or Mrs. Schiavi?
I like the idea of incremental increases, rather than going long stretches of time without increases. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
See you same time next year.
Yes, sir.
Already shaking. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I move that we approve the DPW Director's recommendation to increase the residential permit fee from $160 to $200, as well as increasing the tire disposal fee from $3 to $10 for the next fiscal year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? The only comment I'll make is, out of all the fees that we've been discussing, this is the only one I've heard from folks about. And, you know, they see it as a 25% increase, which it is. However, to your point, it's been 10 years since, to Link's point, it's been 10 years since it was last reviewed or at least approved for an increase. So, you know, when you factor that in, yes, it's a 25% increase, however, it probably should have been a little more incremental, maybe not annual, but nonetheless, it should probably be a little more incremental. So with that said, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's unanimous.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Please.
I had professors that told me once you get to yes, you stop talking. But I'd like to remind the board that each and every year, or 7 out of those 10 years, I was recommending a fee increase for the residents. And usually the board said, that's a great presentation, but nah, we're not going up.
Understood. I appreciate
Now I'll
those
stop
comments,
talking.
correct. Well, the vote's happened. You can go on now all you want.
Through the chair, I had spoke to Mr. Howell earlier today to see if the board may entertain taking the Covanta CMAS contract out of order. It's for the board signature tonight, since we had Mr. Hooper here, if anybody had any questions about the contract. It's essentially a 5-year extension. All terms and conditions of the previous contract stay as is, and would carry us over through the next 5 years with Covanta. I think we've been with them for, 30 years?
Mr. Chair, if it's all the same to you, I'd rather have Link wait the entire meeting.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the chair to sign amendment number 1 to the municipal solid waste contract between Reworld CMAS Limited Partnership, formerly known as CMAS Partnership, for a 5-year extension. The acceptance fee for 2026 is $116.03 per ton, and the following 4 years shall be subject to an increase according to the number 2 acceptance fee per ton as outlined in the amendment.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you. At this rate, you'll be home for the Celts game at 7.
Oh, are they on? Yes, sir. All right, moving along to 2026 annual town meeting update. And time frame.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Everything is still on track. I think I've talked the last couple of weeks about still waiting on free cash. We had to make some accounting adjustments at the direction of DOR, and so we just resubmitted for our free cash certification, although we don't expect to hear back until, sometime in January. But at this point, I think we've answered all the questions that they have, so we're just waiting for them to get through all the tax recaps, which is where they're focused right now. And I believe I may have said something, or sent something to the board, but our tax recap has been accepted and approved, so we can set our tax rate on time, so that's excellent as well. And we'll be before the board on the 22nd, a week from today, to present, along with the Capital Outlay Committee, the FY 27 to 31 capital plan and capital budget for FY 27. Just looking ahead, our next major milestone will be the 5th of January, so right after we get back from the New Year's holiday, we'll be presenting to the Select Board the FY 27 operating budget and capital plan at that meeting. So right now, everything is tracking right along.
Excellent.
Mr. Chair, if I
Go
may.
ahead, Please.
I just would like to publicly thank the town administrator for all the work and the effort. You sat in a seat that was not the easiest to sit in. You've done a hell of a job thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a team effort.
It is a team
Not doing
effort.
it alone.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Any other questions, comments for the town administrator? Hearing none, we'll move along. New business, presentation from the Witchmere Beach Club on an upcoming project. Gentlemen, welcome. Please introduce
you.
yourself once you're seated, and the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Stephen Cullen, Asset Manager for Witchmere.
I'm Chris Tracy. I'm a Vice President from O'Neill & Associates with a business address of 18 Tremont Street in Boston.
Welcome.
Thank you. We are here tonight to speak with you all about our new application, which will be heard by the subcommittee tomorrow. We have our DRI review, the first meeting tomorrow at the Harwich Community Centre. I'm going to walk you through the presentation here in a few moments, but I just wanted to start by saying that we had an application in front of the Commission previously a number of months ago. We met all objectives with the exception of one portion of the coastal resiliency objective. We believe we've corrected that this time. We know that we've corrected it. We have a staff report from the Cape Cod Commission stating that we meet all of the objectives going into the meeting for tomorrow evening. However, beyond that, we listened to the public during all of the previous meetings, and we learned a lot, and we've been able to make some additional refinements to our project and are looking forward to kind of sharing all of those details with all those in attendance tomorrow night. First off, I'll start by saying that we reduced the project by about 10%. We've gone from an 80-room property to a 72-room property. The image on the screen today is the rendered image of what the property will look like. Right down in the corner there, you can see that we've really tried to keep the character of Harwich Port here, in the spirit of what we're attempting to do here. We have several other images. I didn't want to inundate you all with several images, but this image is really representative of what the property looked like back in 1950 as well, and we'll show more of those images tomorrow also. What we have done with this property is we had looked at 4 options previously when in front of the Commission. We exhausted every single option of a possibility of having a new hotel development on the site for us. What we found with this project that we're going to be speaking about tomorrow is that we've moved the property further north on the site itself, and we believe we're actually going to be improving conditions over what exists today, over the existing conditions of snow-in, and our footprint in the floodplain will be much improved with this development. In Snow-In today, our wastewater treatment facility is in the basement. It is located in the floodplain, and this project also contemplates removing the wastewater treatment with a brand new facility again on the northern side of the property, completely out of the floodplain. Here we have outlined a number of benefits that we see with this project. Weechmere is already busy. In the summer, we don't anticipate getting any busier than what we are. We see this project as something as being able to house people who are already coming to our property today, people who are arriving and then immediately drive off and go elsewhere. I don't want to necessarily read all of these off for you all, but some of the highlights here, we see this, and it's supported by an economic study completed by the Cape Cod Chamber that this will generate significant additional tax to state and local for us. The Cape Cod Commission report, or the Cape Cod Chamber report, gives an average of 1.3 to 1.7 million annually for this. We agree with those assumptions. Our projections actually indicate in a stabilized year that the additional tax for state and local will be about $2 million once we get to stabilization. Right now, as I said, all of our guests who come to attend events leave and go elsewhere. Today, it is no surprise to all of you that we do a lot of weddings. The unfortunate part of not having hotel rooms is that we can't really play in any other kind of market segment at all. We believe that this hotel will benefit the Harwich community significantly in the shoulder seasons by our ability to be able to attract different type of visitor to the property itself. We get a tremendous amount of inquiries that we are just not able to entertain right now because we don't have the hotel rooms to support. It is our belief that there will be a significant ripple effect throughout the community by us being able to accept new types of business, particularly in the shoulder season itself.
Yeah, so much of the impetus is those shoulder seasons, and like we said, we're losing people that could be staying in Harwich, spending their money in Harwich to CBI, to We Closet. So the idea is if we can keep more folks on the site, we can encourage them to visit our local shops and restaurants and further work with the community on that.
We have the support of so many folks in the community itself, particularly in the business community. On the Cape Cod Commission site, you're welcome to take a look at the significant amount of support letters that we've received for our project application. A couple of moments ago, I talked about some of the things that we learned that we wanted to be able to correct as we went back to the table with our new application. One of the most significant things we heard from the community was concerns related to traffic itself. Here I have provided a list of kind of things that we have already implemented or will implement in the future in order to be able to remedy that. Several of you who are familiar with Thompson's Clam Bar, you probably were aware that at that time there was a warehouse on the corner of 741, Route 28, that was the purchasing and receiving facility for the property itself. Ownership have recently reacquired that property, and this past summer we had refrigeration outfitted in the property because it is our intent to take all of our 80% of our deliveries off of the road and redirect them to this facility. We're also going to be moving all of our administrative offices to that location as well. Today on site, all of our employees drive up and down Snow Inn Road. In order to get to work, they park on the site itself. It is our intent in the future as well to take all of the all employee cars off of the road in the future. Today in summer we have a shuttle that runs. It runs from the Coachman property, which we also own. It's where we house our employees. We are going to purchase a larger electric shuttle. It'll run on the same shuttle, so we don't contemplate any additional trips as a result of the employee cars coming off of site because we already have a shuttle in place today. One of the other things I just wanted to touch on as it relates to the deliveries itself, while we are taking 80% of the deliveries off, and we used this past summer to watch what those were on a weekly basis. I think what's important to note as well is that, the Coca-Cola truck, the articulated lorry itself, it's not just about two vehicular trips coming off of the road. It is the time, the noise, just the time to go back and forth on Snow Inn Road. What our redevelopment also does is it also corrects the turning radius, which is an issue today on site itself. We've had local safety officials take a look at it and have received their opinion on that, and it will allow for a proper turning radius on the site itself, so it'll improve the safety conditions.
And we'll keep working with Harwich Police and Link and his team as well. We've actually erected new signage on Snow Inn Road. If you're there, you can see it today. And that was an effort because we incorporated the feedback we heard from our community, and we requested that the town erect the signage.
We have a application for traffic calming. I think in front of you at the moment. It'll be heard at some point in the next couple of weeks, was the last update that I heard. Some folks on Snow Inn Road have shared with us that there's significant speed by individuals on the road, so we believe that this is a reasonable measure that we were happy to be the leader in presenting to the town the application for the seasonal speed tables itself. In the future, there will be a full valet operation for all arriving guests, event guests, beach club members, and hotel guests. I think what's important to note here as well is something that I've touched on a few times. Right now, during peak season in summer, if we have 3 events on a typical Saturday, all those guests arrive and then they leave again later that day. It is our belief that in a 72-room hotel that it is a pretty conservative estimate to think that 60 of those rooms that will be occupied in the 72-room hotel will likely be attending one of the events. We will follow the same practice as our competitors, where there is a length of stay restriction as well. So they will have arrived likely before the day of the event and will leave the day after the event. So during those peak periods that exist today, traffic conditions should be reduced significantly, not only from the reduction in the employee parking coming to and from the site, but also just being able to house an increased portion of the event guests themselves. We did ban 54-passenger large buses from coming down Snow Inn Road as well. Each of our events, because they're primarily weddings in the summer, we're very intimately involved in what the transportation plans are for folks. And, you know, I would tell you, and you can back this up, that there is at least 75% of weddings that occur on site have scheduled mass transportation. I just wanted to show the image of the Coca-Cola truck and just how, to give you an awareness of, you can imagine the amount of time it takes to go back and forth. Andrew Singer, our attorney, and I met with department heads here at the town. This is our plan. This is a rough sketch of the coachman, which we own further along Route 28. It is our intent to expand upon that with additional employee housing to accommodate our future needs. We do anticipate to have to hire, you know, several more seasonal staff and to hire at least 25 full-time year-round positions with this. We did receive feedback from department heads about this plans. We have not acted any further on this just because of where we are with this application, but that is what our intent is to expand the coachman site. Several environmental benefits that we wanted to just touch on. You know, I mentioned the significant improvement on site with relocating the, 40-plus-year-old wastewater treatment facility that's currently in the basement of wastewater treatment with a new state-of-the-art facility. Right now we're the cottage building, if any of you are familiar with the site, but that's where it's going to be located in the future. It'll have significant benefits for the community in Weechmere Harbour with significant reduction in nitrogen effluent into the harbour itself. There is one of the significant environmental benefits as well that we're citing, and we'll discuss this tomorrow, is the improvements to the runoff and to just the stormwater on site itself. Today, after last night's events, you know, the pooling that is just occurring on site today, there is a significant amount of water that's coming from kind of nearby roads, I'll say, and coming onto the property, you know, just with different silt and whatever, the runoff going into Weechmere Harbour. The improvements that are contemplated will not only benefit our property, but will also benefit the broader community, the Merkel Beach, the embayment, and of course our property as well. We have a number of things that we'll show in greater detail tomorrow. The last point, you know, just on the floodplain resiliency, the footprint that the lower level footprint of the newly proposed hotel is going to have a smaller footprint over what exists today. Just a summary, I just added some notes here. I indicated that, you know, in the staff report that was published and is publicly available, we meet all of the objectives. This is a redevelopment project. You know, we will meet all of the building code standards for flood resistance. I mentioned the channel house or the cottage building is going to be eliminated in the future. Right now we have 2 buildings. We're going to have 1 building in the future. The channel house itself and that location is going to be where the new wastewater treatment facility is. And we have made sure to just follow all of the different regulations for the local regulations as well when this project was designed. You know, Wychmere has been around for a very long time, you know, and this is, you know, what we believe to be just the next evolution of our property. We really believe that we need this hotel in order to remain competitive as well, and like I said, to be able to build the shoulder seasons. You know, we believe that we have made good effort to address the community feedback by reducing the size of the building. Having met the objective previously, we put greater emphasis on the transportation concerns when going back. We believe that we've made significant improvements here, and again, we have improved the coastal resiliency, the floodplain, the footprint in the floodplain over what exists today. Wychmere and the ownership group support many local and charitable endeavours and will continue to do that in the future. One of the largest employers, and this will only kind of further strengthen that. I mentioned at least 25 year-round jobs will come with this development, as well as many seasonal positions. And one thing I often forget to mention is that we have a very loyal employee base today, that so many of them only work seasonally with us because weddings, no one really wants to get married this time of year, right? So we'll also be able to give our existing employee base a lot more hours as well, apart from the additional opportunities. I mentioned the tax payments. I'm happy to share projections with you all if you'd like to see those separately. And we're committed to preserving the coastal environment that surrounds all of us.
And again, we've had a pretty robust process since they withdrew their application to the commission. We've met with neighbors, tried to work with them. We held a town meeting on site before Labor Day to bring all the residents from Davis Lane and Snow Inn Road to hear their concerns. Again, try to incorporate their feedback whenever we can. But we've also worked hand in glove with the Cape Cod Commission staff, obviously. Tried to pull the building as far away from the coastline as possible and try to respond to their concerns about coastal resiliency. And tomorrow's our hearing, and thank you for working with us and allowing us to be here.
Yes.
Excellent.
Appreciate your time.
Any members of the board, any questions, comments?
Go ahead, Mark.
No, you go first.
I can wait.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Well, I just want to start by saying I got married at Wychmere this time of year.
Oh, wow.
About 13 years ago. It's a long time ago. But,
Seems like yesterday.
it seems like, yesterday. So, Chris, thank you for being here. I might have missed it at the beginning, what is the relationship that you have with the Wychmere Beach Club? Why are you here tonight?
We're a permanent consultant.
Understood. Thank you. And Stephen, thank you for being here. I do have some thoughts and some questions. I hope
Sure.
you don't mind or take offense to some of these. It's a big deal here for Harwich. It's a big deal for Harwichport.
Okay.
And I've read the Cape Cod Commission's report. And through the research I've done, it shocks me to understand that this property has been truly disturbed since the 1890s. Like, who would have ever thought, right? And I'm thrilled the Cape Cod Commission weighed in on this project. I'm hopeful they'll weigh in on another project of undisturbed woodland that we have in North Harwich, but I'm glad they weighed in on this project. Can you tell me, our Regulatory Conservation Commission, they've opined, where do they stand with this? I'm sure you've mentioned it, but
We have, so we have met all of the objectives. We have, I would say, not only for the folks that you mentioned, but there has been several feedback sessions that we have had with the Cape Cod Commission staff. We have made refinements. If you go online, you can see where we've actually adjusted plans following their feedback to meet their requests or to find technical compliance as outlined in the RPP itself. But yeah.
great. I just wanted to make sure our Conservation Commission
Yeah.
has been part of this whole process. I know they have, but for the public's edification, it's important to note that. You've mentioned footprint. It's a smaller footprint than what's there now?
So a smaller footprint in the floodplain.
In the floodplain.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you for that. You know, the nitrogen removal up to 95 kilograms annually, net 95 kilograms reduction in nitrogen annually for me is a big piece of this. And the other real big piece is moving your septic treatment plant out of the floodplain, I think is a real important
Correct.
piece of this as well.
If I could just
Yeah, sure, please.
add one thing that I should have mentioned, that we, in earnest, continued with getting a new groundwater discharge permit for the new updated wastewater treatment facility, even after withdrawing our project previously, and the permit has been issued to us. And, you know, it is our intent that, you know, hopefully we'll find the approvals that we're looking for to move forward with that part of the project first, given the fact that we have the permit.
Excellent. You touched on the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. They did an economic impact report
Correct?
for Witchmere Beach Club. You had spoken to about $1.3 million to $1.7 million in extra increased taxes to the town of Harwich.
To state and local combined. We have them broken out by food and different things. I can give an entire.
Not now.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's great. So there's a significant economic development impact to the town of Harwich, I would.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I may continue, Mr. Chair, please, because now we're getting into the one that I've heard the most about, you touched on, and I appreciate that. Traffic.
Yes.
So, you know, I live on Freeman Street, just across the way, in the intersection of death, we call it fondly at my house. So here's my question to you. You state that with all the mitigation that you've brought forward and proposed, the Coca-Cola truck, which I thought was a nice touch, housing off-site, your management offices off-site, your deliveries off-site. But there's going to be an increase of people coming to the Witchmere Beach Club because you're adding, what do you have, 30 rooms now? You're going to add 50?
So we have 32 now.
32 now.
And it will be an additional 40 rooms.
Okay.
So yes, there will be additional folks.
So to get into the dirt with this, my question is there going to be a net change in traffic on the reduction side? When you factor it all in, is there a net change to reduce traffic?
In our opinion, there is going to be no increase in traffic at all as a result of this. We have completed very detailed studies of hour by hour based off of assumptions. Like I said earlier, you know, it is our, you know, firm belief that, you know, a good portion of these people will be attending the event, so they're coming to us anyway. Now we're going to be able to keep them. So vehicular trips during peak season will be reduced. Specifically, and if I could just mention, like the employees, so on a busy Saturday in peak season, we are looking at least 50 employee cars being on site. So that is 100 vehicular trips in one day just coming off of Snow Inn Road. So if we were to add the 40 rooms that we are going to have in addition, so even if they were to come back and forth, which we do not believe that they would, that would be 80 vehicular trips on Snow Inn Road.
Every project, as I've learned, has trade-offs. And I think the way I approach this, and all the projects that come before us here in the town that at least I get to hear and weigh in on, is that the trade-offs cannot tip toward the proposer more than it helps the town of Harwich. A coach in college used to say that no one player is more important than the overall team.
Sure.
And I would say that through your efforts, and I followed it every step of the way, obviously missing some things as you all work through the process. But I would have to say that you did a fine job of hearing the public. You did a fine job of making changes and not just listening and not making any changes. I feel you've been a fine teammate for the town of Harwich. And, you know, I at this point, it's been commendable how you all have operated. So that's my opinion. Now I'm real interested to hear what the rest of this board feels. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for indulging.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think some Patriots fans may disagree about the one player, but who's Tom Brady anyway?
Who's Tom Brady?
Mr. Kelleher, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you guys for coming. Stephen, I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Chris.
Chris Tracy. Just a couple of things. You said the traffic counts were conservative. When I think conservative, I think of, you undercounted them. Would I be correct? When you say conservative, what do you mean?
Well, I actually believe that 72 rooms in the hotel will be attending the events. We were trying to, I completed a day-by-day forecast of what, so I'm assuming the averages on a weekly basis by coming up with my pro forma assumptions. I mentioned that a busy Saturday, at the very least, we have 50 employee cars, right? There are some Saturdays we have 70 employee cars on site. So I believe that the conditions could be improved over what I am willing to bring to the bank.
Coachman addition, I saw do you have enough room there where are you going to expand where the Coachman is? And I know that's in the future, but I drive by the Coachman quite a bit.
Yeah.
Takes the property up. Are you going up higher, or where are you going to go?
So where the pool used to be, if you're familiar with the site, which is where the septic system is right now, which is what we spoke with the department heads about, so the septic system would have to be relocated elsewhere. There is architectural notes to go along with that drawing. I didn't provide those, but it can be achieved. The intent is that it would be two-story in the middle of the U shape of the Coachman itself. We're attempting to solve, well, we believe this will solve for 56 beds.
Okay. I'm not that familiar with your property. I've been there a few
Yeah.
times. But the building it's going to come down is, when I drive down the street, the first one on the left,
There's two buildings that are going to come down.
they're going to come down, and the new building is going to be built right in that place.
The new building is going to be, it will replace Snow Inn, so the larger of the two buildings.
And just a suggestion, a plan view, an aerial view would just clear
Yeah.
it up where it's going in the future.
Yep.
You had mentioned state and local taxes, 1.7 million, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in time, could you determine what that's going to be?
Yeah, I have it up, yep.
So we know. And will you have, during your construction period, will there be a reduction in your revenue and potential tax revenue to the town?
No, well, yes, because with the hotel being eliminated, there will be a period of 2 years. That's what we anticipate, that there will be 2 seasons where the existing Snow Inn today will not be there, right? Because construction will occur. But I can forecast that as well. It's part of the tax solution that I've already created.
And you can accommodate the weddings and other activities, meanwhile, while the construction's going on?
Yes,
Okay, great. Did you mention speed bumps in Snow Inn Road?
yes.
Okay.
So, well,
And final question, how have you mollified, and I know you've spoken to them, the residents on Snow Inn Road?
so
How do
we-
they feel about your, and I think you've made some good changes. They're most affected. How are they feeling about what you're proposing?
I think that we've made improvements with several people. It is unfortunate that we still have folks who are in opposition to us. We have held a number of listening sessions, whether it's in a town hall. Chris and I met with another smaller group elsewhere. I've met with several people one-on-one. Multiple invitations were extended to people who didn't want to meet. You mentioned the traffic calming, that was a direct action we took following the comments that we heard. We asked for the neighborhood to participate in the petition in order to strengthen the argument when it comes in front of you. They have not participated. To be clear, Weechmere does not believe that there's a traffic issue or a speed issue that exists on Snow Inn Road today, but we don't disagree that with what individuals are saying. We will be part of the solution, and that's what our intent was with the traffic calming measures, and by reaching out to the traffic committee and speaking with Harwich PD and asking them to make reductions to the speed limit, adding new signage on the road itself, which has occurred.
One final question, what is a lorry?
Pardon?
What is a lorry?
Oh, a lorry, a tractor trailer.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I am familiar with the Snow Inn, and for me, it's, I think Jeff brought up, it's very historical landmark, and it means a lot to people that have been here for
Sure.
a period of time.
Yeah.
Have you been before the Historic District Commission?
We have. Prior to my joining the project, they were involved. When I took over, then in advance of the new application, we had a site visit with several folks. There was part of the design that was one of the initial images that we showed. You saw that we are attempting to capture some of the features that people love about Snow Inn. We're keeping what we are referring to as the witch's hat, or the turrets themselves.
I'm looking at
The
it.
historic folks actually came. We went up in the turrets. They're beyond useful life, it was determined. However, we're bringing back the feature to this property, so they have been involved.
Thank you very much for that, because I think that, like I said a few minutes ago, historically, this property means probably a lot to people that have been here for, I can honestly say I was not born here, but I was raised here. And my aunt worked, I referred to this woman as my aunt, was the switchboard operator there. So I've known this property very well over years, and I can see in the drawings that some of the original parts of the building you're trying to reconstruct, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, that was one of probably the last feedback sessions that we had with the commission. We added, there was an additional request made last week from a community design perspective on one of the facades that we have met their request as well. So new drawings were presented because that is tremendously important to them as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything to add, Tony?
No, excellent.
Thank you. Gentlemen, appreciate it. I assume the Coachman addition, there'll be a rooftop pool?
Sure.
All right. So, no, with that said, again, we appreciate you coming in. I don't really have a lot to ask or to add, but I will give you both the opportunity, one, if you want to close with any other thoughts, but also the time and location of tomorrow's meeting.
So the time and location is, it's at 5 o'clock. It's at the Harwich Community Centre. It is in the multi-purpose room. Like I said, commencing at 5 o'clock tomorrow. In closing, I'd like to thank you all very much for hearing Chris and I this evening. We would very much like to ask the Select Board if they would consider supporting our project. Like I said, we really believe that this is a very good development project for the town of Harwich, and the benefits that it can bring, both economically but environmentally for the town are significant in our opinion. So thank you all again.
All right, thank you for that. And I'm vacating tonight, so what I'll do is I'll ask the town administrator to discuss this with the chair of the board and see if we want to put it back on an agenda for consideration of this board's support.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you.
No worries. That's okay. And if you happen to have a hard copy of those
I did.
projected revenues, you can leave it with the town administrator if
Yeah.
you have an extra.
What I brought was the Cape Chamber report, but
Okay.
I can give you my pro forma estimate for it. It's broken out by lodging and meals, and so you can.
So you can email that to me or whatever? Okay, thank you.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you all.
Okay, folks, item B, which is a discussion on the plan to interview town easy for me to say, town administrative finalist. I don't know if you have any real detail on this other than,
A little bit, sure.
okay, sure.
Yep.
I'll be quiet then.
That's okay. Well, I'll try to maybe lay the groundwork for the discussion of the board. So the screening committee, as you know, has been hard at work for a month or more through their process as directed by the board. I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, they interviewed what I'll call their semifinalists and have selected their finalists. We'll be getting a report from the town administrator screening committee on Monday for more of that information. So we're in a window right now, particularly where the holidays fall, to work to select the dates so that those folks can be notified and prepare for that interview with the board as a finalist. What the consultant has proposed, I think I emailed it to you, is a process a little bit more than just coming in here and being interviewed one at a time. And so I call it kind of like speed dating, opportunity for the board individually to get to know each of the candidates, say, more on a personal level. So that adds some time to the overall process. If you figure the formal interview will take an hour to an hour and 15 minutes per candidate, and then if you add that other piece in, is going to add probably a couple hours to the overall process. So, and speaking with the chair, I think the thought, at least initially, the board may want to consider that first Saturday in January when we come back from the New Year's break, which would be the 10th, I believe, as potential the day, which would, everybody's fresh, in the morning to start with that process, and then interview the finalists, early or late morning or early, afternoon. And if the board so chose, there's still, obviously time to even start deliberations if the board is so inclined. But maybe a little bit easier than starting in the, late afternoon, where you could be going, on till 8, 9, 30 at night in that process. So certainly we can do both, but that's at least a point of discussion for the board, and perhaps picking the date so we can secure that and be ready, since the next 2 weeks it gets kind of wonky with the way the holidays, we have 2.5 days 1 week and 2.5 days the next, and then we're in the first week in January.
And so obviously with Don not being here tonight, if we come prepared next week to solidify that date, that should be sufficient? What do you think we need to decide this evening?
No, I think that's probably okay. I mean, so that's the 22nd. we're obviously gonna do it the first, week in January, so I think that's probably sufficient. Yeah.
And does anybody have any, initial thoughts to the Saturday schedule? Availability, things of that nature. I don't know what folks' personal lives look like.
And maybe that's the only thing with calendars, right? And again, I think Don, the chair is relatively open. I know he is to the Saturday one, for sure. But just when we tried to potentially do it this week, it got a little, trying to figure out where everybody was available. So the sooner the board, knows about it, obviously you can make sure any other commitments you might have. So,
And Tony, I'm putting you on the spot, but the mental gymnastics you went through, and I know I did something similar. Were you about 5 hours? Is that in total?
from front to back for the whole thing?
Something along that line?
Yeah, probably 6, again, depending on whether the board decides to do any deliberation on that day,
Yeah.
in terms of, choosing someone at that meeting, yeah, so you're looking at, probably 5.5 hours, probably.
Any thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for that, Tony. Mr. Chair, I don't really have any thoughts other than let's pick a date that works for everybody. I'm pretty flexible, so.
I think a Saturday is a good idea because we need time, we're tired at the end of the day. The 3rd or 10th, maybe the 3rd is too close to New Year's, but the 10th would be fine, so.
Yeah, the 10th is good. The 10th is good with me.
So it sounds like we can proceed with the 10th.
With the 10th? Okay. Do you want me to just check with the chair? He and I have already spoken
Yep.
about it, so I'm about
I
100%.
assume you have a meeting tomorrow with them, so.
Yeah, and I'll ask him, that way I can let the consultant know and let those folks know, and they can start getting prepared and make sure they're available on that day.
Start about 6 a.m.
Works for me.
Right?
Mr. Chair, before we move past this topic, I
Yes.
think this is a great opportunity to thank the CERT committee. Mr. White had mentioned in an email to all of us that this was probably one of the best search committees he's ever worked with. So thank you to Jack, Duncan, Karen, Sandra, and Norm for their effort. It's,
And they'll be here on Monday.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
So, no, but
to
agreed.
formally report out.
Nice to hear those words from Mr. White, so, appreciate their efforts, of course. We good to move on?
Yep.
Item C, discussion on the process to determine and accept the nomination for replacement on the Monomoy Regional School Committee. So, what I read in the packet, I guess Ms. Rose has resigned from the committee. The process to replace is pretty well defined, so there's not much for us to debate on that. I assume, there needs to be candidates, however. So, I don't know if it's something that's being advertised, or if it's how it's being handled to request candidates submit their name for submission.
So I've done a few of these for Planning Board and Board of Health in the past, so I pulled up what I did before. So it seemed like, again, in those particular cases, different from a school committee, but the board was sort of the lead, agent to get it going. And basically, we created an advertisement, picked a date where potential candidates needed to submit by, resume, cover letter, what have you. And it was a very short paragraph. Obviously, we put it out publicly, put it in the newspaper, and at some time after we collected those, then a joint meeting would be scheduled with the Harwich Select Board and the remaining members of the Harwich residents that are on the school committee for a joint meeting to interview, and then a majority of that group is required to select somebody. So I haven't talked to anybody on the school committee. I don't know if any on the board has on wants to lead that. Obviously, it's their member if they wanted to do the advertising and so forth, but I'm not sure how the board wants to, proceed, or what they want me to do to potentially move that along.
Obviously, I know I have not had any conversations with any school board members. Is anybody here?
I have. So the only question I would have is, I believe during the election, there was another person running. It might not be a bad idea to reach out to that person. There were two. Yeah, oh yeah, there was Mr. Foreign, who I believe was here last meeting and spoke about,
Superintendent search?
the superintendent search,
Yeah.
correct. Ann Varela?
Yep. Anne Marie Varela.
Anne Marie
Yeah, so at a minimum, like you said, we can reach out to them,
Reach
but
out
I
to
think
them.
we also need to somehow post it, so
Yes.
with that said, perhaps, you know, in your meeting with the chair tomorrow, you can see if he's had any conversations,
Mhm.
and if not, between the two of you, someone can either reach out to the
Chair.
chair and/or even the superintendent's office to see if they've already begun some type of outreach effort,
Okay,
so.
happy to do that.
And then once,
Okay.
you know, I don't need us, as far as a collective body, to opine on what the window is to advertise it, so to speak. If you think 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it takes, and then we'll just, you know, wait for the joint meeting to be scheduled.
Okay.
All right? Good?
Yes.
All right, item D, approve the following 2026 annual on-premise liquor license renewals. Mr. Kelleher.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I move we approve the following annual on-premises liquor license renewals. Number 1, Red River Barbecue LLC, 7087 Route 28. Number 2, George's Pizza House, 564 Route 28. Number 3, 400 East Incorporated, 1421 Orleans Road. Number 4, Ember Pizza, doing business as Ember, 600 Route 28. Number 5, Milano Hospitality Group LLC, DBA Milano's Italian Kitchen, 278 Route 28. Number 6, Witchmere Harbor Functions Limited, DBA Witchmere Beach Club, 23 Snow Inn Road. Number 7, Round Cove Resort Beverage LLC, DBA Wequassett Inn, 2173 Route 28. Number 8, Ellen Harbor Yacht Club Incorporated, 371 Lower County Road. Number 9, Harwich Port Seafair Incorporated, DBA Harwich Port Seafarer, 86 Sisson Road. Number 10, Beachlight LLC, DBA Seal Pub, 703 Main Street. Number 11, Blue Stripe LLC, DBA Cape Sea Grill, 31 C Street. Number 12, B&N Company LLC, DBA Dive, Dine, and Drink, 986 Route 28. Number 13, Harwich Port House of Pizza Incorporated, 330 Route 28. Number 14, Shogun Incorporated, DBA Noble House, 21 Route 28. Number 15, BLM Restaurant Group Incorporated, DBA Lanyard Bar and Grill, 429 Route 28. Number 16, Cape Roots Market and Cafe, LLF, DBA Cape Roots Market and Cafe, 557 Route 28. Number 17, Hot Stove Incorporated, DBA Hot Stove Saloon, 551 Route 28. Number 18, Brax Restaurant Management Incorporated, DBA Brax Landing, 705 Route 28. Number 19, Shooting Star Realty LLC, DBA Buca's Restaurant, 4 Depot Road. And lastly, number 20, Ashwood Food Service Incorporated, DBA Jake Rooney's, 119 Brooks Road.
Second.
I think we missed one. Can you redo them?
I know which
Motion
one
and
he
a
missed,
second.
too.
Okay, motion and second, any discussion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the following 2026 annual off-premises liquor license renewals. Number 1, Pizza Shark Partners, doing business as Pizza Shark, 403 Pleasant Lake Avenue. Number 2, Portside Liquors Incorporated, DBA Portside Liquors, 1421 Orleans Road. Number 3, Cranberry Liquors at Harwich Port LLC, DBA Cranberry Liquors, 555 Route 28. Number 4, Bourne Petroleum Limited, DBA Harwich Exxon, 173 Pleasant Lake Avenue. Number 5, Main Street Quick Pick Incorporated, DBA Main Street Market, 715 Main Street. Number 6, ATJX Incorporated, doing business as Moonshine Liquors, 4 Great Western Road. Number 7, AJ Luke's of Harwich Incorporated, 224 Route 28.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the following 2026 auto class license renewals. C&B Automotive Incorporated, DBA Reflections Auto Restoration and Collision, 4 Evergreen Way, Unit Number 1, Auto Class 4. Number 2, Cape Cod Trucks LLC, DBA Cape Cod Trucks, 195 Queen Anne Road, Auto Class 2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chair, I move we vote to approve the acting town administrator's recommendation to grant permission by Verizon New England Incorporated and N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy, to relocate one jointly owned pole 5 feet and 6 inches north of existing pole on Grassy Pond Road.
Second.
Motion and a second. Tony, anything you want to talk about on this one?
No, we held the public hearing. One gentleman showed up. that was the proponent, I would say. And I think I had one resident had a question, they were in a butter, just about when the pole's relocated, where the overhead line's gonna go, but that was really an Eversource. This pole was owned by Verizon. So obviously, the Eversource line and the Comcast line going to the residents obviously will need to be, restrung, so they'll work with the homeowner to make sure it's an appropriate overhead position.
Any other discussion?
The only thing I'd like to add to this motion and the next motion, Mr. Chair, would be that they would repair all disturbed land to original condition.
Part of your motion, Mr. Callahan?
Should I read it all over again?
Nope.
Okay.
That's part of your motion?
Okay, part of my motion, add
Part of
all,
the second.
all construction work. What's the exact terminology again?
Repair all disturbed land to original
Okay.
condition,
Repair all disturbed land to original conditions.
just like you said.
Just like you said, perfect. No further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's unanimous. I was waiting for the chair to declare. So the next one's
What's-
interesting, but,
Okay, go ahead.
no, I don't,
Some are marked, some are all.
Okay.
Sonia, do you want to kick off H rather than a motion?
Which one?
H?
Yes. So as part of the utility hearing that we held, there were 3 items on that hearing. So one we just did, which was Grassy Pond, there was no issue there. The other 2 by Verizon were to install a conduit for fiber optic lines. One was on Hall's Path off Route 137. The second one was in the Round Cove, Hawks Nest area. And in both cases, as we were preparing for the utility hearing, we had received calls from folks in each of those areas saying the work had actually already been done, which is not the way it's supposed to work. Unbeknownst to the town, obviously, that the work had already been completed. The woman that lived on Hall's Path, I believe there's only 2 houses there. Once you go, further up the road past the Lighthouse Charter School, the woman at the last house, had some damage to her yard where they put the, the conduit and the line in, installed the pedestal or the handhold. And, she had inquired of the folks that were working, what's going on. Didn't really, get a lot of, information from them. So the person that comes to these utility hearings for Verizon is actually a separate company that handles these utility hearings, so not a lot of information about how this actually occurred was brought out at the hearing. I chose not to make a recommendation, for what we call a post-construction approval. Verizon does enough of these things that, the process for the hearing and stuff is pretty basic. So in your packet, you'll see that the DPW director reached out to his contact Verizon, that put him in touch with the gentleman who's, I guess, an engineer. His primary job is to ensure that these utility hearings are handled, and basically took responsibility for their action. It appeared that he should have put a hold on their internal system until the utility hearing occurred. That did not happen, which meant that the computer part of the process obviously sent the work to the folks that do the installation, that basically had them proceeding with that without the proper approval. So I'm not sure how the board wishes to handle this particular one in issuing, I'll call a post-construction, authorization, if you will.
My initial question, I'm happy to open up to the board, but my initial question is, has the homeowner's property been repaired?
I don't believe so at this point. So one of the thoughts certainly is we can bring Verizon in before the board to have a discussion about that. And we can also reach out to the homeowner to find out whether there's been any, conversation with Verizon about repairing what was, dug up. I did inquire from DPW about the road right-of-way. That's a 40-foot right-of-way on that road. Now, as you know, most roads are not that wide pavement-wise, but I didn't really get an answer back about where they dug, whether that was in the town's right-of-way. A lot of times, people plant grass and have other irrigation systems right up to the edge of the pavement, perhaps not realizing that that's part of the right-of-way for the road owned by the town, if you will. So I don't have that information back yet, although we did send Mr. Albee out there from DPW to document the issue. Now, they went across the driveway as well. My understanding, that's been repaired from what information I got back, but I'll have to track down whether the area of the lawn where they had to put the conduit in has been put back. Irrespective of that, as we just heard in the motion that Mr. Handler made, when they do this stuff, they should be putting it back, obviously, the way that they found it. So, whether it's on our property or theirs, they should be, restoring it to its original, condition. The background here, it sounds like there was a grant that came from the state about bringing, high-speed internet and so forth to areas that are not currently serviced with that. Again, I'm not too familiar with Halls Pass or Hawk Nest Round Cove and whether they don't have Xfinity or whatever, but it was, apparently this work was put in through a state grant that Verizon had received, so that information's in your packet as well.
Right. No, I did see that, and,
So maybe I can get a little more information, and just put this on hold till I found out, one, if the work was done in the town's right away, if it was done on the homeowner's property, what may or may not have been repaired at this point, and then perhaps the board may wish to bring Verizon in and have a little discussion about.
yeah, and I don't know what the pleasure of the board is, but I would personally like to do that. And again, the conduit's in, right, so it's not like, I'm not inclined to say rip up the conduit to put it back in after you get approval. However, there is a process, and I read somebody fell on their sword, so, wonderful, but how are we gonna make sure this doesn't happen in
put
the
it right.
future? And then, more importantly, what are we gonna do about the homeowners that have been impacted? So, my inclination would be to bring them in, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks.
The Verizon needs to remember that grants are still taxpayer money.
Yeah.
As they're ripping up front lawns and residents of the town of Harwich's property and leaving without putting it back to its original condition. I 100% would like to bring them in here.
Okay.
I agree.
Keller?
I would just say, we're gonna have plenty of permit possibilities with Verizon coming up. There was a letter of apology written. We're gonna be very busy. In my opinion, I'd approve it. Keep an eye on that if they don't do the approval, we just don't sign any more approvals. But that way we clear our deck, we can move on. And I suspect Verizon will do the right thing. That's just my opinion, so.
At this point, and no disrespect to Mr. Kelleher, it sounds like the majority would at least like to have a conversation with Verizon. So again, you can work with the chair, Tony, and see if we can move that along.
Okay.
Just mark. All of us on the second page.
Thank you, Anita. All right, old business, discussion on the 5 C Street extension. I don't know, Tony, if you want to kick us off, or if, Jeff, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Or Tony, I'm happy to have you.
No, I do, it was a request to have it on the agenda, so we put in the property card. Obviously, this purchase went through, I don't have any background on it since I wasn't here, so I'll yield to Mr. Handler's
Thank you.
background.
Yeah, and this doesn't have to be a long conversation, and I thank Chair Howell for putting it on the agenda. I can't remember the actual date that this property was purchased by the town of Harwich, but I think it was earlier this year. And the discussion was it's just for the public's edification, it's essentially a beach, a dune, that is in between two homes on C Street. And, I guess the question in my mind is, does it have value to the town? And if it doesn't have value to the town, would the town like to see if maybe the abutters would like to purchase the property? That's the only reason I wanted this back on the agenda. I don't remember if somebody said that they had spoken to an abutter and there was interest or not, but I think it's something to explore. 'Cause I don't see how the town's gonna use it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and again, I'm not gonna get too detailed to your point, but we acquired the property to avoid litigation, and at this point, we own it, so if we wanted to sell it, I think that's the first conversation we have as a board. And then if that's a route we choose, then ultimately it has to go to town meeting. So I guess the first conversation is, do we have any interest in determining the value to the town, and if there isn't any, potentially putting it on the market and seeing if we get any prospects.
And that was my idea from a timeline standpoint, is this board to determine whether or not we want to keep it or sell it. And if we're going to sell it, it needs to go before town meeting, and then before you know it, summer's here, and we may be able to sell the property if in fact that's the choice that we decide to bring to town meeting. Thank you.
Any other conversation?
No. How much did this land cost?
Too much.
To the town?
Wait,
Yeah.
1 it was sold in April 25, 1,410,000. I think part of the, obviously the town meeting piece, I think it also needs to be advertised, if you will, or through procurement, obviously. Would make sense to, if anyone's gonna buy it, it'll probably be the folks that are right there versus somebody buying a dune that doesn't live there, but we still have to go through that formal process, and then, of course, town meeting as well, so.
And there may be a use for it, for the town.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It could be a nice little parking spot, it could be an access point, it could be a lot of
Yeah,
different things.
so why don't we do that? Why don't we ask you, Tony, to have a conversation with some of your department heads, determine if there's any value to the town, and then conversation with the chair to put this back on the meeting, back on the future agenda, and we can make a determination based on the feedback from the town staff.
Okay.
That work for everybody?
Works for me. Thank you.
Excellent. We already covered contracts, item A. So if I've delayed long enough, so we need the town administrator's report.
Okay, thank you. A couple of things for tonight. I've scheduled the 3 legal firms that responded to our request for proposal for legal services. We'll be hearing from Clifford and Kenny on Monday, the 12th of January. Their expertise is in labor and employment law. We have KP Law will be here on the 20th, so remember the 19th is a holiday, so we're meeting on Tuesday. They applied for all categories in the RFP. And then we'll hear from Harrington and Heap on 126, and they as well applied for all categories. So that'll be happening in January. Also wanted to announce that Kara Moweni and Angelique McGibbon have both been selected in the next cohort for the Cape Leadership Institute. I had mentioned that to department heads in one of my first meetings as kind of a leadership growth opportunity that's right here on the Cape. I had an opportunity to attend the Metro West Leadership Academy when I was in Ashland. It's a great program, great networking, great way to continue to build, leadership and management skills with others, with like careers and, kind of professions. So that starts in January, early January, and they graduate in June. So they meet about every other Thursday for a half a day as part of that program. Also, Kara has completed all of her classes to receive her MCPPO, which is the Mass Certified Public Procurement Official certification. Could take up to 90 days for it to go through the process up there, but all the classes, all the tests have been completed and passed. Again, we're working to expand those that can assist us with procurement activities in various town departments. I think will be a big help in trying to clear the backlog and future projects in getting those completed and kind of decrease the amount of latency, I say, that exists in some of our.
Sorry, I missed, who did you say?
Kara
Okay.
Moweni, and also Sean Libby is getting his MCCO. He's still trying to get into a class. They have an online version, and then they have where you go up a couple times and take, actual classes in person. So he was originally trying to get in the online, portion of the program, so the most recent one was full, but he's also going to be getting his MCPPO certification as well. That's it.
Any comments or questions for the TA? No? All right, select board report, Mr. Kelleher?
Sure. Just the zoning board of appeals needs alternate members. They're starting to deal with the Marceline property. you know, they may run short, in which case they can't have hearings. I just wanted to say, if you wanted to learn about housing, about how 40Bs work, those who are listening, it's a great opportunity to learn. So consider reaching out to Anita or Jeff on the interview committee to be on the zoning board of appeals. I think it'd be you know, it's a great learning experience for those who want to get involved in housing and learn about town government.
Excellent. Mr. Hanlon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two things. With respect to legal presentations coming in, I've mentioned this a few times in the past. I'm going to bring it up one more time. I don't think I'm going to be prepared to make a vote. Happy to hear them come in and give their pitches. But until this board identifies and has a discussion as to what we're looking for from legal counsel as a board, what's working, what's not working, identifying some of the things that maybe could have been done better, I'm not really going to be prepared to make a vote on legal. That's number one. Number two is the local planning committee lost a member as well, and we accepted that resignation today from Mr. Gorey. Is that something we need to think about populating, or because they're so far down the road, maybe we don't? I don't know the answer to that, but they're down one member. And maybe, I have no problem reaching out to the chair, Joyce McIntyre, who's done a fantastic job, and just asking her maybe what her preference is, but her preference might not matter.
No, yeah, and maybe less her preference, but what her group thinks.
Of course.
Yeah,
Her being the local planner.
Yeah,
Correct.
and, you know, as I sit here, I think the same comment you just made, which is it's kind of late in the game, and, you know, I don't know how much heavy lifting is left, but sure, I'm happy to at least hear what they have to say as far as adding a member for the recently resigned position. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, it comes down to the vote as well, right? I mean, they've got an even number at this point, so I don't know if they have to take.
That's what I mean, I don't know how much heavy lifting they
How
have.
much more they have to do.
So,
So I'll reach out to
Yeah.
Joyce tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I'll report back to the board at our next meeting.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Ms. Doucette?
Tony, I just missed the first date for the legal interviews. I know I got the 20th, the 26th. What was the first one?
12?
The 12th, okay. Other than that, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Excellent. I don't have anything of use to add this evening.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, we are adjourned.